Hello there, welcome back to another build video for ARK Survival Ascended. Today we're going to be building these stables, as you can see, and they're a little bit more on the larger side, so make sure you have plenty of space to build it, preferably of course flat ground, but even if it's not completely flat, it should work. These should be all the materials that you need, but I might have miscounted some, but it should be close enough. For the foundation, it really depends on whether you're able to use stone foundations everywhere, or you need to use ceilings, and then you'll probably need more or less walls than that I used, but I'll show you in a bit how that works. I also built these stables on my survival world, so at the end I'll show you a little bit around how it looks and how you could decorate it, but you should have plenty of places to store some smaller to medium-sized dinos, so let's get started. And before we start the actual tutorial, let me show you what I meant about the foundations. Now, in an ideal flat spot, you could probably build the entire thing with just stone foundations, because you can connect them without problem. And as you can see, even on a slight hill, it should be no problem to connect some or most of the foundations. But the problem is, it's hard to find a very big flat spot, and then you will run into landscape, which will prevent you from placing either the normal foundations or the triangles. And also, if we take a look at these stairs, they stick out a little bit from the ground, but personally I would like it to be a little bit higher so it looks a little bit nicer with the stairs. So the other technique you can do, either when you run out of places to place the foundations, or because you want it to be slightly higher, you can place a pillar, see how high you can get it, and then you can connect the stairs or the ceiling to it, and you can see it's slightly higher, which personally I think looks a little bit better, but also for most landscapes you'll probably need it. Okay, let's get going with the tutorial. Make sure you check the landscape, see where the highest point of your build is, and that's where I would start with some foundations. And then we're gonna make a shape of 3 by 4. So right like this, and now you can already see I can't place this foundation on the right height, so I'll need to use a ceiling in there, which is fine. We're gonna fix all that later, but this is why you could need more ceilings or less ceilings than I do. Really depends on your landscape. Now we're gonna go into the triangles, gonna connect them, and at the front here we want to have 3 of these triangles facing where we are standing. So basically I'm just gonna fill all this in, see where I can place the foundations. Here again we can't place it in the right height. We'll use a ceiling. That's our 3rd triangle, so that means this is the last one we'll place. And now we'll just fill in the shape so that we can start placing the next normal foundations or ceilings. Again, we're running out of places where we can actually place normal foundations, so we're going to go into ceilings. But yeah, 3 diagonal, basically 3 triangles next to each other on the front row, and then you're going to go back to ceilings, and again you're going to make the same shape of 4 by 3, so that we have basically 2 stables next to each other. So right now we have something like this, so we want a little bit more, but we can't place anything anymore because we're now in ceiling land, which means we'll need to start adding pillars as well. And just to be thorough, and because it looks nicer, we'll start at the foundations and just make sure we've got the beams going all across, and then we'll add some supports in later. Oh, let's get rid of this. We definitely don't need one there. So basically you want to go along the entire back of the build with the beams, and then of course we also need to start adding some pillars as supports, especially for this part with the ceilings, but just for the looks as well, even though you can't really see that much, we'll add them here as well. And you want to add one in the middle of the diagonal part, so try to look. I think it's 3 triangles facing outward, then it's the middle, and on this corner we'll place one as well, and then after 2 foundations we'll do one as well, because that's basically where one stable portion will end, and then right on this corner as well. Okay, so we should have something like this, depending on your situation. Might be more or less foundations, more or less ceilings. Then we go 2 further here. As I said, we want to have a 3x4 there, and we're going to go out 1 here, because this is where our gates are going to be. Basically, the big middle piece of the stables, which is going to be too wide, and then it's going to be the same length as this, but just 1 extra on both sides. So we'll finish the shape of the 3x4 there. Then we have this middle part, which will add 1 extra. But again, we're gonna need some supports also on this side. So let's make sure to add some beams and pillars so that we can add the 2 extra on this side. And then again, we'll add the supports here as well. Some pillars, some beams, and then we can start with the other part. You can make the beams go all the way through, because this is the gate part of the build, and that basically goes straight through. It is not connected to any of the stables directly. There we go. We can continue on this side, and again we'll have the 3x4 shape. It's always a little bit finicky with the snapping points, but again, you want to have the beams and pillars so that we are well supported, since we are in ceiling territory right now. You might end up in a place where you could theoretically end up in a place where you can place foundations again. So you could choose to just use foundations. It really doesn't matter too much for the entire look and feel of the build though. So we'll have the 3x4 on this side, the gate portion, and then the 3x4 again on the other side, basically mirroring it. And then this diagonal part, as I said, has 3 triangles facing to the inside. Then you have the other 3x4. So that's basically the general shape of the foundation. Now we of course need to make sure to have that on the other side as well. So again, we're gonna go with the triangles, making sure that there's 3 on the inside, but we're gonna run into problems of course with the support. So we're just gonna see how far we can go on this side, and then we're gonna add some beams. You're gonna have 3 in a row here, which then it's time for another pillar, but it's also right in the middle, so we can leave that later as well. Then we're gonna continue with these ceilings. Again, we want to have 3 of these triangles facing us like this, and then we had 1 more, and that will be the edge of it, and then we'll go back to normal ceilings. So just fill everything in right here, and then you're good to go with the diagonal part. We're done with building those, at least for the foundations of course. And then add beams at the back again, and a pillar on the corner. Now you can't place the pillar the right way, so you'll have to place it for now and then replace it later on, because of snapping it doesn't really allow you, because there's no ceiling there yet. And as you can see, we can't place a ceiling without the pillar. So what we do is replace the pillar, because you see it's not facing the right way. But now we can place, if we have the snapping point, we can place the ceilings. We can add new supports here that are facing the right way, and then we can replace this pillar with one that's facing the right way, so it looks a little bit nicer overall. It's a small thing, but I mean, it counts in the end, I guess. So we'll add 2 more beams here, because again, for this last part, we want to have a 3x4 shape with the ceilings, and we'll just fill that all in. So just continuing like we did before until we have the 3x4. And then of course on this side, we want to add some more beams and pillars to make sure it's all supported. And then we're pretty much done with the foundation. Of course, we're going to have to fill it in a little bit, but this is the shape you will need. So this should be what you have right now, but let's fill it in. So we'll start at the back. As soon as you have ceilings, you won't have the walls. You can leave the foundations, or you could place walls if you like the look more. And then we're just gonna fill in the entire back part with walls, so that we can't look underneath our foundations anymore. Don't want to have a floating stable. So basically this is to make sure that everything looks like it's one big piece of stone, one big strong foundation to build the rest of the stables on top of. So just go along the entire back. And again, this could be bigger if you use more ceilings, or maybe you decided to go with only ceilings. Then you pretty much need to do this everywhere. We don't need to do it at the front, only on these little side pieces because they will be visible. So we want to make sure we got the right wall textures here. And then we're pretty much done. I think I placed them on this side. We don't really need them there. So you could get rid of those if you place them. Because you technically don't need them, because we won't see them in a little bit when we're gonna place the ramps, or stairs I should say. Because we want to have some stairs right here, of course, because this is going to be the big gate area where you can walk through. You can use it as a big gate as well. There we go. We have 2 of those. And then, of course, we want to cover on the sides so that we can't look underneath the foundations anymore. And it looks like it's a nice, strong piece of stone, and it's all connected. Then we want to add some railings on top of that just to finish off this look. I like it with the stone side down because then it connects with the rest of the textures. But again, this could be personal preference. So if you like them the other way around, feel free to change that around. Then we're going to add these stairs pretty much at the end of all the ceilings and foundations that we have left. So you just go along the entire inside. Make sure you check if there's no gaps. Sometimes with ceilings, they are a little bit higher, so you can add a second stair if there is more room. Then on this part you just do the same. You place the stairs because it will connect nicely. And then here again, you just connect the stairs to the foundations or ceilings. So you'll get this nice curved stair, which I personally think looks really, really nice. Then on the side, of course, we want to place the sloped walls. Now, I think in this instance, for some reason, it just doesn't like to snap here. So we might have to skip it, but in most scenarios, you should be able to place the sloped wall here. I don't know why it won't allow me here, because pretty sure the other one is just as far into the ground as I need here, but for some reason it won't allow me to snap. But you should be able to, and then you can fill it in. Again, on the other side, we're going to do the same thing, so make sure you place stairs to all the ceilings and or foundations that you used to get the same shape as on the other side. For this build, of course, there's going to be a lot of repeating because basically both sides of the gate, both building sides of the gate are going to be the same. The gate, of course, is going to be a little bit different, but basically you do both buildings twice and you repeat the same build. Now there we go. Let's place the last of these stairs. Can't place them here for some reason. Enemy structure. Pretty sure there's no one here because there's single oh, I think it's it must be this bag. Yeah, there we go. Okay, well, we'll fill in the last of the stairs, and there we have it. This is our foundation. Oh, almost forgot to place this slope down. But yeah, this is basically our foundation of the entire stables. So we have the gate as the middle part, and then the two sides that should be completely the same. Maybe some differences in where you used foundations and ceilings, but this is the shape that we should need. And again, we can add the railings. I'm doing them stone down for the same reason as before. I like the textures connecting, but you could change them around if you like that look more. And then we are really done with the foundation, and it's time to start building the stables itself. Now, first, just to make the divider very clear, we'll place down these gates, the stone gates, so that we know this is going to be the middle part of the build. We can fill them in with the reinforced gates as well, so that we are done with that part. That's definitely the easy part. We'll add some pillars as well, make them go all the way up so they're the same height as the gateways. And then you could even do that, of course, also do it on the other side. So make sure you do it, because this is easy to forget. You don't really see them that much, but they do add a little bit more texture, and we'll use them later on when we finish the gate build itself. You can also use the beams to connect the top part, so we have the two gateways completely sealed in. And this is where we'll leave it for the gate right now, and we can start with the main stables. So we want to start on this side. We'll place down some pillars on the corners just to get started and to give ourselves some markers basically to work with. After 2, you want to do the same. So you have a pillar, a gap of 2, and then you place another pillar. Don't place one on the gate portion, of course, and you want to have one in the middle of the diagonal portion as well. Then here you want to place the pillars on the front as well, so that we have some markers basically to work with for the rest of the structure. This is basically just to make it a little bit easier to see where you need to place stuff. Then we're going to continue with walls. Now, it's a personal choice whether you like them facing outwards or inwards. For this design, I've chosen to face them inwards because I like this wooden texture and I like to have the other texture on the back. Also, I think that other texture looks even better when you want to paint it, if you want to do that. So we'll go for this look. Now on the outside, on the side, we'll just go the other way around. You'll see in a little bit why, because we're going to turn the second layer the other way around. I like this look because it basically gives you 2 textures for the wall, which I think gives a nice look, a little bit more variation than if you would do it all the same way. So you should end up with a shape like this. So we want to do the same shape on this side, but this is the gate portion. So we're going to start by adding stone walls all along the bottom side. Of course, this wall is a little bit longer. The last one you can raise all the way to the top, so 3 high. Same on the other side, because those are the 1 extra that they have. And then the middle part you want to place 2 extra here, because we're going to need this part for the building of the roof. Now for the roof structure, you want to pay attention. You need the quarter walls. Place one like this and connect one, then flip it, and then you can do the other one. There's 2 variations of this, very important, otherwise it won't fit in with the wood pieces. You will have gaps. Then we do the slope walls like this, and we create this roof design that has a little overlap on the outsides, which I personally think looks a little bit nicer, so the wall actually sticks out a little bit instead of connecting straight with the walls. Then here again you want to place 2 quarter walls and connect another sloped wall, so you finish off the shape on the back side. It goes down a little bit lower than on the front, but it has the nice overhang, which I personally really like. Then we need 2 quarter ceilings to place right here with another quarter wall. This we will use to snap in the roofs in the right positions to create that nice overhang also on the side of the wall here. So this is the shape you should end up with. Now we're gonna try and do the same thing on this side as well. You could use stone, but I think for this part it makes more sense to use wood, especially for the stable part. So basically we're gonna add the same shape as on the other side. So right here you want to place the right variation of the quarter wall, then go to the other one, place 2 on top, and then again connect your sloped roofs to it to create the roof shape that we need for the snapping points basically. So we want to have the little triangle going on like this. You don't need to fill in the rest. This part is not necessary on this side. We just need the top part basically for the snapping points and everything to line up in the right way, because otherwise you can get some messy stuff. Again, we need this little platform of the 2 quarter ceilings and little quarter wall so we can do the snapping in a little bit. Then we're pretty much ready to start building the roof. Here on this side it's easy. Connect this one first, very important. So to the little quarter ceiling we placed, and then you can go along the edge like this and fill in the roof like so. And then we can place the top part and have a little bit of overlap, but this will make sure that we have the nice roof and a little overhang. And then on the front we basically do the same. We start with this part on the quarter ceiling, we connect it all the way through, and then we do the top layer, filling that in. Don't go down any further, we need it a little bit higher on this side. And then on this side here we have Of course, the gatehouse, basically, we want to have stone walls everywhere. Now, it will clip through a little bit. I don't think there's any way to fix this. But also, I don't think it's that bad because you won't really see it that much unless you start looking up when going through the gatehouse. So, this is what you should have right now. And as you'll see these pillars lining up with the roofs you just placed. Let's make sure we raise all of these one more so that we can more easily line up the roofs. So you can see this roof lines up with that pillar. That is what we want. And now we're going to try to attempt the same on the other side. It's slightly more tricky though. So start the same with these roofs. Now we want to find the right snap point so that we still have the little overlap to the outside. So you might have to circle through all the different points, and then we have this one little extra overhang on the outside, but still having the roof line up with the pillar on this side. Very important to do this right before you continue, because otherwise you might run into trouble later on. Then we're gonna do the top roof here. Again, we want to do the same thing, but to help you, you can place a roof on the other side, so you can just snap it to that. So we have the little overhang. Now we want to place the roof so that it will align. We'll get rid of the roof that we used to help, and now you can just fill in all the roofs so it will line up with the pillar, and you'll have the straight line that we need. Now for the other side, basically we want to do the same. We want to make sure that first we get the right alignment for the pillar. So we want to have it right here. We want to have it down there as well. And then this will line up with the pillar like we want. You can fill this all in easily. So yeah, you can see it lines up with the pillar line. And now we need the little overhang. So again, we're going to look for the right snap point. Don't start with the top one because that might be tricky to get the other ones in. So get that one. And then connect the bottom one, and then you can fill in the top part. First the overlap, and then the ones that will line up with the line of the pillar. So now we have the two normal roof portions done, lining up with the pillars. Now we need to make the middle part, the diagonal part, which will be a little bit of a tricky situation. So make sure you pay attention, or feel free to watch this back. So start connecting these roof pieces like this, the triangles, then fill in two like those, and again connect two like this. You'll see a little bit of overlap and this little triangle shape missing, but I don't think there's a way to fix this. But also I think it's actually a kind of nice little happy accident, because I kind of like the look of this little piece that is missing. It gives the roof a little bit more character in my opinion. Then for the top layer we do the same. We connect to the roofs, and then we just start connecting all the way through, and you'll see it will line up very nicely. So you should end up with something like this. Now on the other side it's a little bit more difficult because it's a little bit bigger. So start with aligning with the roofs. Basically I just go side by side to make sure that I end up with the same amount of triangles when they meet in the middle, of course. And again, we'll have the little triangle missing, which I don't think is a bad thing. I kind of like the look of it. Now it gets interesting because we need to do more overlapping. Place one like this, like so. You'll see it doesn't reach all the way to the top. Do the same on the other side. And then we'll connect to the top part. So we'll do the same way. We'll place another triangle. These you can actually just connect all the way through to the other side. They will line up perfectly. So that makes the job a little bit easier. Now we need to fill in this little mess we have in the middle basically. So you try to look for the snap points to connect to the ones that we've placed earlier. And you want to just connect them up a little bit until they will meet in the middle. Again, they won't line up perfectly, but close enough to fill in everything that we need like so. And this is what you should have now. The whole roof filled in. looking quite good. I was very happy when I made this work the first time. Now on the inside, we have a little gap at the back. So we want to have some quarter walls and fill in this gap so that we don't see it anymore. So just go along the entire back wall to fill it all in and make sure that you can't see outside. We really want to make sure these animals are nice and safe and nice and warm inside and they don't have this gap behind them. So yeah, just go along the entire back until you reach the gatehouse. And then we want to make sure that we line up the pillars as well. Make sure they don't snap too high. So snap them to the quarter walls because otherwise they will stick through your roof. There we go. No placing pillars into the gatehouse, of course. Then on this side, we want to also place some pillars and beams. Connect this straight through so we have a little bit more support. Want another one right here. Then connect the pillar. And again, make sure you look for the snap points so you don't have any weird things sticking out. And you should have something that looks like this. There we go. We're gonna go inside the stables, make the dividers. You can decide again whether you want these stone railings upside down with the stone on the top or the bottom. For now, I've chosen the stone on the top just to have the texture mesh in with the wood because we're using a lot of wood already. So these are basically the dividers for your stables. And these will be the different slots that you can use for all your animals. Now we're gonna build up these fences. So you want to have upside down railings like so. Then connect a layer of railings the right way around. And I think this makes for a nice divider while still providing a lot of nice visibility. Then we're gonna connect some railings to the top. Make sure to flip them around like so. And then connect one like there as well. And then for the other part, you might have to scroll through some of the snapping points to get everything right. Basically, you want to have a normal way around railings going down like this. And then we'll connect the railings upside down like this because they will make for some nice support beams in the stable. Especially because the pillar on the front isn't quite reaching all the way through the roof. So this way it will still look like it's being supported. Now the snap points can be a little bit tricky, but just try to be very careful aiming and you should find it. And then this is what we're gonna do for all of these. So all these dividers are basically the same. Start with a layer of upside down railings, then a normal side of railings, and then we're gonna go to the roof and connect them like so. Yeah, it's not the most fun part. It's definitely important to keep paying attention where you place the railings. Don't want to place them in the wrong snapping point, lose them, because there's a lot of railings in this build, of course, because I mean, I think it's probably the most impressive tool that we have right now to add a lot of detail. There's so much freedom with these to add some new shapes to your builds, which really helps a lot in my opinion, at least. All right, there we go. We've got 2 done. Should look like this. And then we'll do the other 2 as well. Again, repeating the same thing, going with the upside down railings first before adding them in the right way around as nice little dividers. If you don't like it being see-through like this, of course, instead of using railings, you could, I guess, also use quarter walls or normal walls to make your dividers if you want to be even more separate. But personally, I kind of like the look of having this more open view because it also makes it just easier to check what's in the next one over. All right, so we have one more almost done. If we can find this last one, there we go. And then one more to go. Again, by this point, you should be able to do this by yourself because I think you'll have enough repetition now. But we'll show it one more time, finding all the right points to place these railings. There we go. And we'll also use these railings as supports for what we're going to do on top of the roof as well. They will be nice little snapping points. There we go. And this is also why it was so important to place the roof in the right way. So basically using the snap points of the roofs as well. So there we go. After placing a ton of rails, we now have this all supported, looking a little better in my opinion. Everything is now connected, and now we want to add some more railings, of course, to add some details to the roof. So we're going to start with this along the bottom of the roof. Make sure you line it up correctly here. Well, you can't do them apparently on the triangle roofs. They won't stick out the same way. So instead, we'll skip that part. We'll leave that open for a little bit. And we'll go to the other normal roof portion and do the same thing. Just make sure they all stick out like this. There we go. I personally really like the look of this. And then we're going to flip them upside down and continue to follow the line of the roof. These you can add on the other part as well, so we can make them go all the way through. And this just adds a little bit more detail, in my opinion. I think railings look really good. Maybe your personal preference is less railings. Of course, that's always possible. Now, we're going to do them along the roof as well to add some detail to the divider to the top of the roof. Again, make sure you don't place them in the wrong snapping points, because that can very easily happen here. There we go. And we just connect them up all nicely like this. And we want to make sure that this goes all the way through on the top of the roof until you meet the gatehouse, basically. There we go. Even though there's no gatehouse yet, but you know what I mean. And then we want to place them upside down in these dividers as well, just to show the different parts, I guess, of the stable. And I just like adding a little bit more detail in my roofs instead of having them be like these bland, wide open spaces, basically. So there we go. We do it on the end of the roof as well. It can be a little bit tricky again with snapping points, but you should be able to get there. And then we flip the roof around again and we make sure we have them connecting at the bottom like this as well, just to look a little bit more supported, and also as just a nice little end detail for the roof. I have the same one on the starter house tutorial I did. I kind of like the look of this, so you should have something like this so far. Okay, just change the time of day so we can see everything. Now, of course, we need to add the details on the back of the roof as well. So basically do the same thing as we did on the other side with all the little detail pieces. Make sure it goes all the way through here. It seems like I've placed one of these pillars the wrong way and it actually poking through, so we'll have to fix that in a little bit. But now let's just make sure that we do all the railings, because this is an easy part to get distracted or miss some spots, and you're probably gonna forget it after a bit. So we're just gonna do it all the way through with all the little details that we did on the other side as well. So we'll add this railing as well, which we can connect with this. There we go. After a while, you should be getting a little bit more proficient with this. Now, if you're building this in survival, I feel you, it's a little bit more difficult. What I did is trying to land on the roof and then walk around. Be careful not to fall off. It will, cause you a lot of headaches if you try to do it that way, but it is definitely possible. You just need to be a little bit more careful, or of course build some scaffolding to get up and down. Then we want to have the parts sticking out again, if it will let me. Let's see. No, there we go. That's the one we need. And there we go. We connect that all the way through, and then we should be done with all the railings on the roof, and you should end up with something looking a little bit like this. Now let's fix this pillar that I missed, and then we should be done with this side of the stables. So this is what you should have right now. The left side next to the gatehouse completely done, detailed. And this is what we're gonna have to build on the other side as well, exactly the same way. So to save a little bit of time in this build tutorial, we're not going to show that. I'm not going to show that. I don't expect you to build it completely by memory after building the first part, but you can just rewatch this part, but do it on the other side, and you should be able to get the same result. And then we save some time in this video and we'll continue right here. So right now we want to place some of these trophy shields. At least I think they look like shields. And it's a nice way to add a little bit more detail to these pillars. Of course, if you have some trophies to use, you could also probably hang them up here to add some more detail. Personally, I also think they just look nice as is, because they kind of remind me of like Viking shields or something like that. And just a nice touch of decoration. Now another way could be to use some torches and place them on top. I think that should be possible if you want some light and you don't want to go for like the more electrical way, I guess. So this is what you should end up with. Personally, I think that already looks really nice, but of course there's still a big missing gap, and that is the gatehouse. Let's connect this with beams so that we have the whole structure basically completed, and then we're going to build the top part so that we have a nice build all the way through. So you want to have some stone walls facing outwards, but use these doors. Oh, not this way. Let's pick that up, and then we'll place the same way, because we're going to use this as windows. I know they're doorways, but you can use them as windows. Place them like this. Then we can just fill in the rest of this with normal walls, because there's not really any reason to add more windows here. There's not much to look at. And we have plenty of light coming in by these we already placed. Now for the roof part, this should be familiar. We're gonna do quarter walls, 4 of them. Don't need to worry about anything with the stone ones. And then we can face the sloped one next to it, and to create this same triangle shape with the overlap we did before. So 4 quarter walls on top of each other, connecting the sloped walls to create this shape with the little overhang. That should do the trick. And then we're basically ready to build a roof here as well. There we go. Let's first add in some doors. So I use greenhouse doors for these because they're nice, made out of glass. And then we can do some rope ladders to serve as some shutters. And on the other side we can do the same, right, like so. And then we can move on to the roof. But yeah, I like that way of using the rope ladders as shutters. That's really nice. Before we can do the roof, we need to do the same trick we done before. 2 quarter walls and 2 quarter ceilings, 1 quarter wall, to have some extra snapping points for us to work with. We do that on both sides, and then we can finally place in the roofs. Now I'm using the wooden roof because I think the stone one doesn't look too good. Now you don't actually need to be too complicated. You can just connect everything going through, and there we go. And then we do the top part and go all the way through as well. So this roof is much easier after doing the previous one. So it's kind of nice last home stretch before we're done with this big stable build. There we go. And then we connect it to the top layer, fill it all in. Actually, I'm forgetting something here. You need to go inside and fill in the little gap with some quarter walls, but yeah, I forgot. So now we do some details on the roof. We have the upside down railings, of course, basically the same details as we did previously. Sometimes it can be a little bit more difficult to get the right snapping points. Usually the best way is just to move around or place some extra things that can hopefully help us. There we go. Let's see if we can do it on the other side as well. This one definitely. And there we go. And then on the bottom we'll connect the railings like this. Again, if you don't like this look, if you want to do something different for your roof details, feel free to. I just really like the look of this, and since I built my other buildings in this style, my starter home, I'm just trying to match it right now. And we go all the way around with these to add the detail everywhere. Now there we go. And yeah, this should be quite familiar by now if you made it this far into the build. But the snapping points always a little bit tricky and don't always want to cooperate with you. But yeah, we're getting there. We're almost there. There we go. We add some more details like this. And then of course we do the same thing along the lines here, just to create that nice border at the roof. And then also I want to have these ones to add a little bit more detail to the top as well, because it's looking a little flat. And if the snapping points will allow me to finally place these, we should be almost done with the roof. But for some reason, it's not really wanting to help me out here. Can we please? There we go. Now you'd think if I do the same movement here, I should get the same result, but I mean, sometimes I love the building in this new game, but yeah, there's definitely still some finickiness to it sometimes. There we go. We go all the way across the top as well to add the last little details on this side, and then we just need to finish off, of course, the other side as well, and then we are almost done with the entire stables. Now they're quite big, of course, so you can definitely place this in some nice location and have this as a focal point for your base as well, depending on how much building you might want to do. And you should have plenty of place. There we go. The roof is now done, and there we go. This is what we have so far. We actually made it. So you can add some more details. What I at least like to do is add some feeding troughs in every little stable place, because it makes it look like every animal has their own little tray of food. Now I don't do these in the middle parts because I personally use them for something different. I'll show you in a little bit when we walk through my stables on my survival server. But yeah, I think at least having these details works really well since it is a stables. So it makes sense there's these feeding troughs everywhere. There we go. We placed them all. And then you should have something looking like this. Now for the diagonal part, you could decide to do more details or also use them as stables. You can also decide to replace some of the walls with windows if that fits your location and you want your animals, I guess your dinos, to have some views of the outside as well. It's definitely possible. I personally have chosen not to use it, but it's up to you. Now this is the stables at my own base. As you can see, I've painted the roof black as well, and I think it looks really, really nice. There's plenty of places for all your animals to be stored, and there's also plenty of places to store some other stuff, as you can see in the diagonal parts. And I will walk you through it in a little bit to show you around and see what the options are, so you have a little bit of inspiration if you are going to build these in your own world as well. Okay, so this is the stables in game. When actually just walking around, I figured that might be nice to see as well. So you have a couple of different compartments to store your dinos. I've used the bigger ones, the diagonal ones, to also just have some storage. You know, you can probably keep your saddles here. I have a fire as well, just to have some more atmosphere, some water. But of course you could also use this for dinos that you need more space for. For example, this is already getting a little bit crowded. I might want to add, you know, some more to it. But yeah, that's all up to you. And then the other side, I've done a similar thing, some rooms for dinos, and then of course you have some decoration here again. I put some cages with some dodos in here. But yeah, pretty much up to you what you want to do with that. But I just like to give you an example of the way that I use it and I have decorated it. And as you can see, I painted the roofs black. I think that really looks nice. It makes it look like completely different material. and just has a nice contrast with all the wood, the stone, and everything. So yeah, and then of course, when you're ready to leave, you can also use this as a gatehouse and go out the other side. Especially in my case, this pretty much also functions as my wall. I know that won't be the case for everyone, but you are able to use it in that way if you want to. So yeah, these are the stables. Hopefully you enjoyed this build tutorial. Can't wait to see what you do with it, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.